The Penguin Season 1 was a powerful, enthralling, and brutal tale of an underworld of monsters fighting monsters. Fascinating characters, devastating arcs, and truly superb acting. But seriously, where is Batman? I'm not afraid to say it. Useless. Batman is absolutely useless. Stop jerking off in your Batcave to Nirvana and maybe, I don't know, do some Batmaning? Maybe? Now, just to be clear, this isn't like a major issue for the series. Still a powerful 4.5 out of 5 on my letterbox. Bloody love this show, so fantastic. But I would say that the lack of Batman is probably my only issue really at all. And just to be clear, just to be extra clear, I don't want this to be some kind of Batman central show. I don't want Batman to be the main character. I love that it was villain focused. I don't even want Batman to be in every episode. Honestly, I wouldn't have even cared if Batman didn't have an arc whatsoever. Ideally, in my perfect world, I would love to have him appear, I think maybe 3 times over 3 different episodes for only about 5 minutes each. I don't need him to punch the Penguin. I don't need him to defeat the Penguin. I honestly don't even need him to interact with the Penguin. He doesn't even need to interact with the story and affect the story on like a story plot level. I just kind of feel like in a world in which the Batman exists in Gotham, in a world where we've cast Batman in this world of Gotham, when so much goes down over 8 episodes in Gotham, maybe the Batman should, give us an indication that he's in Gotham, being Batman. If they had really, for some reason, really, truly not wanted to put him in the show, but what I think is more likely is that they just didn't want to pay Robert Battingbat to be in the show, which I suppose is fine. We focus on the Penguin. Sure. My biggest issue with the lack of presence of Batman is just that. There is no presence of Batman at all. No rumors, no fears, no mention from low tier, mid tier, top tier, gangster/criminals of the Dark Knight at all. And I'm not asking for a line after every single time the Penguin asks any of his minions to do anything. One of them just whispers to the other guy, "What about the Batman?" Just a couple of scenes sprinkled throughout to make it feel like this is still set in the world where Batman is also in Gotham. And maybe have a couple of the low tier gangsters just somewhere in the series get knocked off and they think it's a Falcone or a Carmine or whatever, but we know, oh no, it was definitely not them. Penguin think it's them, they think it's them, but that was probably the Batman. But we just didn't see it because the Batman's not in the show because we're focused on the Penguin, but the Batman is still here and he's still trying to figure out what's going on. The presence is there, the feeling and the mood of the Batman as this thing, this looming threat in the darkness that you can't see. And that would almost work better to not have him appear because you'd have so many characters being like, he can't be here. No one's actually seen him, but the only people who've seen him have been off screen. And all of this really cool, exciting stuff to create and add to the mood of Gotham and this dark night threat looming, this horrible vigilante monster creeping in the corners that no one sees. There could be so much good, juicy stuff to be mined from that by focusing on the villains and never showing Batman. It might even be better that we don't see Batman if he keeps being alluded to in certain ways. And honestly, if you forget, which I tried to do as much as possible, that this is a Batman show without Batman in it, in a world in which Batman exists, but apparently he just doesn't exist right now for these couple of weeks while all this is happening, it is such a good show. Every single aspect of the show is so incredibly well written and well acted. It looks beautiful. Everything is so tight and perfect and devastating and powerful and a very good show. And it's not even this show that truly suffers, even though I do think it could be elevated even further and even beyond what it is if they had at least alluded to the idea that Batman exists. But I think the worst thing is that it kind of not only undermines, but it essentially makes the entire first 10 minutes of the Batman, the film, pointless and wrong, and it just makes it feel really weird. Because it's like, no, Batman. People don't fear you from every dark corner. Criminals not only don't fear you, they don't think about you at all. All of that being said, pretty great show, right? The obvious highlight of the series, at least for me, was the Hangman. played by the mother from How I Met Your Mother. She has always been absolutely terrific in everything I've seen, but I haven't seen her play a villain. I've always seen her as the hero or someone very likable, and she's always incredibly charming and charismatic. Her big eyes are just so expressive and powerful, but now adding that extra villain, evil, twisted, demented little glint in those big, powerful eyes have just added a new extra, incredibly powerful dimension to her acting. And I kind of honestly want her to kind of maybe pivot from the hero type of character she has played, at least in the, 2 things or maybe 3 things I've seen her in, and move into more villainous or at least anti-hero kind of, more flaws than positives type of characters. Because her as this villainous, the Hangman character, was spectacular. I honestly didn't love the first 2 episodes, especially the first one really didn't grab me. Felt like it was trying to be a The Sopranos type show, and they were trying to make Oz too likable. He's all like, I love slushies just like the next guy. You mix the flavors together and it makes it better. I'm just like you. I like the ordinary things. I'm an everyman. I kill people, but I'm the everyman. And I'm just like, this feels forced and isn't really working and gelling for me. It feels like budget The Sopranos. But then she appeared like halfway or late in that first episode, and I was like, oh no, I get it. She's going to be the main villain. Incredible. Spectacular. So horrifying, yet very charming, charismatic, but terrifying. Super terrifying. Just an incredible screen presence. And what I love about those first 3 episodes is we slowly build up this villain of the series, and we can't wait for her to tee off and for the Penguin to defeat her, because the Penguin's the hero. Sure, he's a bad guy, but he's the best of a bad bunch. He is likable, he's funny, he's charming, the performance is incredible, and he's the underdog of the underworld, and you can't help but root for him. If everybody in this show sucks, he sucks the least. And at first, we thought that she sucks at least somewhere in the most category. But then episode 4 rolls in, the flashback episode to Arkham, and we suddenly realize, wait, hold on. She's not the Hangman. She's just been framed, and it becomes incredibly tragic and devastating and so brutally sad, and she becomes immediately just insanely sympathetic. And it's like, wait, okay, well, hold on. So she's sympathetic, and the Penguin is also sympathetic, but they're not going to team up because at the end of episode 3, she found out that Oz killed her brother. And then a couple of things play out, and we start dealing with this idea that maybe we're watching a truly nuanced Game of Thrones style thing where everybody is a villain in some way, but everyone is incredibly sympathetic, and you don't want either side to win, but they are going to fight, and one of them is going to die and lose. And then we get another flashback episode, and our lovable, likable underdog of the underworld, the Penguin, has his flashback, in which we find out, previously we had that really sad moment where the Penguin's like, my brothers died, the city took them. And I'm like, oh my heart, I love the Penguin. He sucks and he's a bad guy, but compared to everyone else, I love him. Can't wait for him to kill everybody else. And then the flashback happens. And he drowns his brothers. For essentially no reason. And that lovable, charming, funny underdog of the underworld becomes a despicable, just disgusting, ugly, horrid little man, this egotistical, psychopathic, irredeemable monster. And I was like, wait, the Penguin's like a silly, funny Batman villain. Why have you made him my least favorite human being that's ever existed? I'm confused. Why have you done that, The Penguin, the show? Truly appalling. Truly disgusting. Truly, I am in awe of how visceral and just unpleasant a reaction I had to that flashback episode. The series, we've been building up the Penguin, and we've had these scenes with his mum, and she's clearly going through some kind of psychotic dementia mental break of some sort. She keeps going in and out of reality, and it's tragic and it's brutal, and he's there to support his mum. And it's beautiful, and it's emotional. He has Victor, he's raising him up, almost like some kind of little brother. And you have all these powerful, interesting things that make Oz such a likable bad guy. And then you just have him just be so self-centered and so narcissistic and cold and evil and brutal from such a young age. From such a young age. Michael Myers style young age. Just like too young. He very clearly knew what he was doing. And the brothers, they were never treated as like full-on bullies or crazy, psychotic, bad brothers. They never teased or mocked him in a way that I felt like, wow, I don't know. If that's a microcosm of what he's been dealing with for his whole life. He's built up to this moment and it sucks, and I still don't agree or like condone it, but you almost understand how someone could do something that horrible. But like, they went down some stairs and were like, come and catch us. And he's like, I can't climb stairs because of my leg. That's not really that bad bullying. Like, that's mean. Sure, that's mean. I'm not saying it's a nice thing to do. But compared to locking them into a sewer and making sure they drown and die, it's just like apples and oranges? Or maybe a bad fruit and a good fruit. It is just so incomparable. It just makes me truly sick to my stomach. It makes me so upset. It just like, it's such good writing. The performance is spectacular. You can't even tell it's Colin Farrell behind the makeup. The makeup's the greatest thing I've ever seen. I truly, genuinely, just actually, literally, in the old-timey sense, literally, forget it's Colin Farrell. Such a character. Like, it's just, it feels real. He feels like a real guy. It doesn't feel like Colin Farrell wearing makeup, doing a penguin thingy. It feels like a real character, a real man that exists. Incredible. And I'm on his side. And then the show just completely changes that so quickly. Where I'm just like, hate this guy so much. From a lovable bad guy hero, just trying to make a name for himself, just trying to rise out from being treated the way he was being treated, just for the respect that he thinks he deserves, and honestly, all people do deserve, to this just monster of a man that I just find so vile and disgusting. Just the way he just like looks out to the rain, the realization of like, it's super rainy, and that just like seeing those moments and moments and moments play out where he just does not say anything to his mum, and you just realize this isn't a mistake. I've locked them in there. I am the only one who know they are there. It is now raining. It is now pouring, and he just watches a TV show where a guy's got a top hat, which I thought was a bizarrely comical touch to all of this, where I'm like, I guess that's where he gets his love for top hats, because he's the penguin? Sure. At the end of the day, this is still a comic book show. No matter how dark and gritty they want to make it, it is still based on very silly things, like a big penguin villain man who has an umbrella thing and a big top hat. And so I guess you gotta put the top hat in. I really respect the writers for pushing us into these really murky waters and making the penguin, who generally speaking, yes, he's a villain, but he's such a silly, quirky, fun, usually Batman villain compared to a lot of the other villains. Like, he's quite light compared to some of the other more psychotic, evil villains. But to turn the penguin in this show into such a despicable, heinous, disgusting monster is just really interesting. I do wonder, did they take it too far? Is it kind of unpleasant now? Is he, in a lot of ways, unwatchable? Not necessarily, because Colin Farrell's performance is so emotional, and there are moments after everything has happened in the finale where he's still trying to fight for his mum, and you feel something because the performance is so strong from Colin Farrell. But at the same time, I feel like they then do another thing that makes him somehow he's irredeemable, and then they go, what if the irredeemable does something even more irredeemable? And I'm like, well, I don't have such a good masteration of the English language. What's after irredeemable? I don't have a word. Just super duper irredeemable? That doesn't sound very clever. The penguin then does something that's super duper irredeemable. I am of course talking about one of the final scenes in this series where he kills Victor. Victor throughout the series is the absolute beating heart of the show. The most true and honest and respectable character in this series. Sure, he gets to a point where he has to murder that guy, but he gave him no choice. And sure, he works for the Penguin and does bad criminal things and all of that stuff. But this is a series like a Breaking Bad or a Game of the Thrones, where every single person sucks. It's just like, where on that like scale do they suck? And it starts with the Penguin being the least sucky, and then he turns to the most sucky, and then Victor ends up being easily the hero of the series. Victor risked everything for the Penguin. He showed loyalty when no one else did. He's the only reason that the Penguin is still alive. And so for the Penguin in those final moments to choke him out and kill him like that, I found to be, as I said, super duper irredeemable. Just so heinous and disgusting and vile and mean and cruel and just horrible in a way that I feel like I haven't experienced this such anger and disgust for a character in so long. It made me so upset, and I guess it's a testament to the writing and the characters and acting and all the thingies that it makes me feel so much, but it still almost makes me feel like, I don't know, have they gone maybe too far in making him so evil? Because it is the Penguin. This isn't the Joker. And in some ways, I'm not even sure if they meant it to be so super duper irredeemably horrible, disgusting, vile, awful. Just blah. Because I feel like it felt like a mandate from like Matt Reeves or DC or whoever it was, where they're like, the Penguin is a show and it can do a lot. Tell your story. But also it has to end with him like in the Falcone building, like ruling that empire. Because that's what's kind of implied at the end of the Batman 1. And this whole story is like, actually no, there's like a bunch of people in between. And it will rise up and he'll kill everybody. And he will then be the ruler of the Falcone building and the empire and all that stuff. But that is also what is implied at the end of the movie. So like, you know, they don't have to have watched the show. Make it that. Make it an incredibly dense character-focused story with 8 hours of compelling character-focused storytelling that does end kind of the same place that it started. Can you do a bit of a Falcon and the Winter Soldier all over the Penguin? You can? Fantastic.